How important is it that people understand your music? Understand where you're going? How important is it that you actually deliver on people's expectations? Let's talk about that on this episode of The Music-ist. Hello and welcome to The Music-ist. My name is Sage, and today we are going to be talking about subverting expectations. When is it too much? When is it not enough? And where is the right balance? Let's start with when is it too much? For me, that's experimental jazz fusion, where you kind of have to have a doctorate level understanding of music theory in order for you to even understand and even appreciate what they're doing in experimental jazz. I think it's kind of like the jazz musicians club only, where you have to be a jazz musician to understand what they're doing and how exactly they're subverting your expectations. But if you're a layperson and you don't really understand everything that they're doing, and you're just trying to listen to it for enjoyment, part of the enjoyment for me, I think, is the fact that you understand what's going on and nobody else does. And so if you're a layperson, you're part of the no one else that understands, so you can enjoy it. And I think that's a little bit elitist for me, and I don't like that. I don't like it to be exclusive to one group. I want it to be accessible to a larger audience. And so for me, that's too much subversion, because you don't have a home. You don't know what key you're in. You don't know what chord's the one. All of it's relative, and for me, that's not what I hold to be true. I don't think of that's not reality for me. I believe that there's truth out there. I believe that there's objective truth, and of course I'm getting off into philosophy, and that's not exactly the point of the show, but it's pertinent because when you're making music, you're also music, it can be said, is the expression of reality through your viewpoint, and so you're encompassing your worldview and presenting it. So for me, if you are trying to convey this notion that the world and reality is relative, and truth is relative, and there's really no home chord, there's really no right or wrong, and it's this ambiguous, tossed about on the sea wherever the wind takes you, that's not me. That's not what I believe. That's not what I believe to be true. That's not how I view reality. And so for me, it's too it's too up in the air. I need I need at least 1 foot touching the ground. Okay, you can take me on a wild journey, and I love jazz. I really do like when they do key changes. I really like going away from home, because I personally, again, talking about philosophy, I do believe that there is a point where you have to sacrifice what you're comfortable with and take a step out into a place where you are no longer comfortable. I'm fine with that. But it's when you're homeless and you have no home is where it's a problem with me. So that's where I think it's too much. Now, what about when it's not enough? For me, most hip-hop today, most traditional, I say traditional, most modern trap music never moves. It's the same sample or the same series of notes or same simple melody played over and over and over again from start to finish of the song. The drum pattern may change. The drums rarely do. The rhythm doesn't really ever change. They may take stuff out, put stuff in, but there's always a constant harmonic and rhythmic feature that goes on throughout the whole track. That's just how modern trap is made. And for me, If you're going to have something constant throughout the whole thing, change the instrument playing it, change the, say you have a series of notes, a melodic line that you want to play through the entire song. Change the octave, change the instrument playing it, change the harmonic makeup of the sound playing it. Like if you had a filter thing, open up the filter, or make it interesting enough so that make the sound interesting enough so that it takes you till the end of the song to fully digest everything that's going on in that melodic line. That is interesting. That moves the song along. But if it's a simple sound and you instantly understand, okay, this is an electric piano playing the same line for the entire song, and nothing else changes, and it's just the same beat and the same music, whatever, you're not going anywhere. Now, again, it's the analogy of the journey. If nothing changes, you go nowhere. You just stay at home doing nothing, and nothing changes about you. Nothing changes. And again, I have a problem with that, because philosophically speaking, I believe that there needs to be change, and I believe that I'm a Christian, obviously. I believe that God wants and has a desire to change you. So if there is no change happening, then there's something wrong here. But if there's no consistency, there's also something wrong. So where's the balance? I think for me, this is going to be a while, and I don't have hours to talk about this, and because I'm still trying to figure it out. So for me, philosophically, the balance is having a firm foundation, firm enough that you can venture out into the unknown, but you're not lost. And for me, musically, what that means is, if you're going to change something, you change it at strategic points. So for me, so take an example. You're going to do like a 1-4-6-5 progression, or a 6-4-1-5 progression. Let's say we're going to do that as no. Sorry, I'm getting my my progression messed up. It's 1-6-4-5. That's the progression I'm talking about. Okay, so you're going to do a 1-6-4-5 progression. Every once in a while, don't go back to the 5. Throw in a 3. Throw in a 2. You want to get really crazy, throw in a 7. Go back to the 6. Change it. In music theory, that's called a deceptive cadence. So have a deceptive cadence, but only after you have established a home, and keep something from the original progression, maybe a melodic line, and you harmonize it differently. So now, instead of that familiar 1-6-4-5 progression or harmonization under the melody, but you have a stay melody. Now you have a 1-6-4-2 progression, and now you don't. The melody takes on a different meaning because those notes serve a different role against that melody, and so now that's uncommon. It's kind of uncomfortable. Or say you've been in one key the entire song, and you've built up, you've changed instruments, you've changed rhythms, you've changed the melodic line, but now you want to change it up because now you're going to repeat the chorus at the end of the song, and you want to change it because you played the chorus the same way the rest of the song, and you move up a half step. You just move everything up a half step, so you change the key. I think that is also a good way of destabilizing, because you're destabilized for a second, then you're like, oh wait, these are the same intervals, but that initial jolt is enough to get you through the end of the song. So for me, if you don't change something, you have a problem. So if you can't just listen to an instrumental and say, this is the intro, this is the verse, this is verse part 1, verse part 2, pre-chorus if you have one of those, chorus that's separate, that's its own idea, own musical idea tied to the song, but it's an extension of the song. And you bring it back to verse 2, where you may change something from verse 1 to indicate that you're moving farther along. Or you bring it back to verse 1, something is changed now, you're in a different spot, going back through verse 2, part 1, verse 2, part 2, pre-chorus if you have one, going into the chorus. Maybe you do it the same. Maybe you have more instruments. Maybe you have more drums. Maybe you have more harmonies. Maybe you have something else that's different. Maybe you sing it a different way, because now you're leading up into the bridge. If you can't just listen to that, or just say you have an instrumental, or you don't have the whole song, you can't listen to the lyrics, but you have the instruments play something slightly different, or you have a different, you have the main melody passed to a different instrument, and you can hear where it changes. If you can't do that, then something's wrong, and you have to go back and reevaluate, because you haven't gone anywhere. And so now it's harder, in my opinion, to write to, because you don't know when to stop, you don't know when to start. Say you're writing, an example of this was I was writing a song, I'm working on a song for a concert I'm doing this weekend, and so I needed to write a verse. Thing is, I didn't know when to stop. I didn't know when the chorus was supposed to come in. And, I had to sit down, I had to bring the song into my software, my DAW, digital audio workstation, FL Studio, and then count out the number of bars that I needed. I was supposed to do a 16-bar verse, and so I had to count out 16 bars. And then I knew I had to listen. Luckily, the drums changed a little bit. The kick, they had taken away the kick drum in the second half of the verse, and they brought it back in for the chorus, or what I started calling the chorus, 16 bars after I started the verse. So they brought it in the kick drum. So when I heard the kick drum, okay, I'm done. I have to stop here. Thing is, though, there was nothing else that told me. And honestly, the drum pattern was the same. It never changed. The instrumentation was the same. I think, if I'm not mistaken, there's one instrument playing the entire song. Not counting the 808, I consider that more of a drum. I consider that part of the drums. So without the 808, there was one instrument playing the same notes. It's an interesting sounding instrument, to say the least, but it's one instrument, and since it's playing the same 2-bar pattern over and over and over and over again, by bar, I think it's 32, or no, bar 25. Bar 25 is when the chorus comes in, because there's an 8-bar intro, then a 16-bar verse. So that's bar 25 is the downbeat is the start of the chorus. So by that time, you've already figured out what this instrument is, and so now there's nothing new changing. And so you're just like, I don't know when the chorus is supposed to start. Now, for me, that stinks, because now as a writer, I have to think, why is it so confusing? And that's a problem. Quite simply, that's a problem. And then for the listener, if they don't hear the lyrics on top, they don't hear the rapping, they don't hear the singing or whatever, the song's not done. I understand that I have a couple days to finish the song. But we just finished, me and the guy that I'm working with just finished writing the chorus. But if they don't hear the lyrics, then they're also not going to know when the chorus hits. And so for me, as a producer, as an artist, as a music lover, as a music-ist, and as for you guys, I don't know if you guys are in the same boat. If you're not, let me know. But for me, that's just not enough change. And like I said at the beginning of the episode, when you kind of just make everything relative, where you're just going 2-5-1, 2-5-1, and you're not ever really ever landing on a 1. It's kind of just 2-5, 2-5, 2-5, 2-5, 2-5, but the 1 and the next 2 are the same thing. So it's the 1 of the previous 2-5, but it's the 2 of the next 2-5, and you really never ever land, and you never have a cadence, really. I mean, technically you're doing a series of cadences, but you don't really land anywhere. That's a problem for me, because where you think, oh, okay, I'm supposed to land here, no, actually I was supposed to land, no, I'm supposed to land, no, I'm not, you never land. And contrary to Peter Pan, never landing is a problem, because eventually you have to find your home. So sorry I got really philosophical there in the middle. I'm talking about music, but those are my thoughts. If you guys have different thoughts, same thoughts, you want to agree, you want to disagree, you want to yell at me, cool, just let me know in comments. And until next time, I will see you later. Bye.
The podcast you just heard was made using Anchor. Ever thought about making your own podcast? Anchor makes it really easy for anyone to get started. It's a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing podcasts. Best of all, it's 100% free. Sign up now at anchor.fm/new. That's anchor.fm/new to get started.